So welcome to Integration Designer Apex. Integration Designer Apex, before we get started, let's go ahead and discuss the spectrum of programming platforms. This will help us line up where Apex sits. So when you look at the screen here, we have this spectrum, and there's these two buckets. One is the open, customized, flexible software platforms on the left side, and on the right side are the closed, those fixed platforms. Integration Designer is a completely flexible, customizable software platform, but doesn't sit at the far left extreme. We'll reserve that for AMX and Crestron. Integration Designer does not need the same learning curve that it takes for those other platforms. That's why a lot of you guys are using it, and in fact why it's in the CEDIA Hall of Fame. It's more of a visual-based platform that doesn't mean that you have to know how to program from the ground up. Now on the other side of the spectrum, those closed fixed platforms, we're going to reserve that for Control4 Savant. They typically have a shorter learning curve and offer some time-saving advantages, and we'll explore that here. So let's first discuss the pros and cons of the open platform. First and foremost is complete customization, and this is imperative in order for you to be able to separate yourself against the competition. It's what allows you to market your own unique style, your product that you're offering to your client. Being able to have a customized solution means that you can provide your end user an experience that works with their needs and wants and engages their lifestyle. The market opportunities on the open platform mean that you can start off in a single room solution and work your way up to a multi-room complex audio video home automation situation, and then just switch gears and take advantage of the commercial market, grow your business, your revenue, and your profitability. There's programming flexibility in the open platforms, and that's important. Open platforms allow you to take whatever you need. For example, RTI builds in-house two-way IP drivers. There could be hundreds of macros or commands inside of there. We don't make you use them all. It's not all or nothing. You hand select, you pick what you need from that driver in order to build out your system file. Now the cons. There is a learning curve. What we typically find, of course, RTI has a shorter learning curve than that far left of the spectrum, but regardless, we find that programmers often quickly understand the control side, the automation side of the platform, but do struggle, and it is a little bit more difficult to take on the whole GUI, the actual building of the customized intuitive user experience. And that can put you at risk when it comes to the perceived value your client has. And so if there's a way to help speed up or ensure that not on every single job there's a way to make it so that you don't have to be so focused on that all the time, or better yet, provide you with a way to speed up the control programming so that you can develop and spend more time with those labor dollars on the intuitive design. That means too that there is some time efficiency at risk here. You may bid a job for 40 hours, but the programming actually takes you 60 hours. Last but not least, the hardware typically costs more, and so does the labor associated with it, and that is not the same typically on the closed platform. So let's say you've done a great job, you've sold this open platform RTI hardware. It's a little bit more expensive, and you're able to explain the value behind that and the software that's going to allow it to give that custom intuitive design. If it doesn't come out at the end that is true, that can put you at jeopardy, at risk from being able to get recommended by that particular client's friends and neighbors. We have the closed platforms now. So pros on the closed platforms, first and foremost, you're going to see a faster learning curve. Typically, they're drag and drop platforms. They offer time-saving advantages like automated programming. Ecosystem, both platforms offer ecosystem, but the advantage in the closed platform is that they're plug and play. It utilizes the same methodology. You're not so heavily focused on having to learn all these different manufacturers. The cons are obviously going to be that limited customization. No matter how hard you and I try, if you're in a closed platform, that interface is baked in. It's set by the manufacturer. You're not changing it, which means you don't really have any way to separate yourself from the competition. Closed platforms potentially could lead you into limited markets. You're not going to be able to have the same reach as you can potentially in the commercial market with the closed platforms. because they've been designed more heavily geared towards the residential market. That could impact integration partners and protocol limitations. Okay, so we got that. Most of us know all those things. It's just nice to kind of be able to break them down and understand really and truly what's happening and how do those platforms work. Now that we know that, what was Apex designed to do? Well, pretty straightforward. We wanted to take advantage of best of the both worlds from the pros perspective. We're going to be able to offer a faster learning curve, take advantage of auto programming. We'll show you how Apex does auto programming different than other platforms. You can get ecosystem capabilities, the scalability to design single room to complex large commercial environments. You will maintain and have the ability to have complete customization, program flexibility. More importantly, you'll be able to separate yourself from the competition and grow into different parts of the marketplace with Apex. So one might say, okay, that's great, Justin. Well, I'm going to guess then that now Apex is going to sit right in between both of the open and closed platforms on the spectrum. Apex now has been designed taking advantage of best of both worlds. There's not a platform like this, so now it sits above. It's at the pinnacle of the programming platforms that will impact your bottom line. All right, so before we get into these conceptual fundamentals, just have a quick discussion. I want to make sure, again, before I help you alter your mindset about how to approach the software, I also want to talk about what we hear a lot in the forums and chat throughout this entire week. You're probably one of those in the webinar right now going, okay, well, this is all great. I'm used to Integration Designer 9. Why the heck didn't you just put these new features you're going to share with us into Integration Designer 9? Well, here is the deal, folks. First and foremost, I want to let you know that Integration Designer 9 is not going away anytime soon. We're still going to update it, take care of it, make sure it has all the firmware updates. We just actually did one. But here's the realities. If you look at the smartphone industry, for example, the technology has escalated, grown so fast over the past 5 to 6 years that cell phone manufacturers have to create new operating systems and sell new phones constantly to keep up with it. Look at the technology, the software, the apps, everything that you use now and what they're capable of doing compared to 5 years ago. It's incredible. Now, Integration Designer 9 is a platform that has served us all well for so many years. In fact, it's won several awards and it's in the CEDIA Hall of Fame. That's impressive, and I get the fact that we don't want to let it go, but we need to be able to step up the game. As much as I want to make sure that you can be scalable and grow into different marketplaces, we need a platform that can help you with new advanced feature sets to be competitive. We need to be able to develop and create tools that will allow you to be more efficient. And in order to do that, we needed to build out a new platform. And Apex is that platform. Remember, Integration Designer 9 wasn't born Integration Designer 9. It started at Integration Designer 1. In fact, it was Theater Touch Designer prior to that, and we still support that. The fact of the matter is I just wanted to level set that for some of you that are on this webinar after we get done today, you're going to say, you know what, that's pretty cool, but I don't see the value in it, and I'm fine. I'm not asking you, and we'll talk more about this, and I'm not asking you to go do your big, huge, complex system that you got scheduled for next week and go and do it in Apex. What I am asking you to do is help yourself get set up with the right mindset to understand how Apex works. Now, for the rest of us in the webinar that are going to see some things that they're going to say, wow, I can get an Apex now and up the ante as far as your understanding of how to program, I want you to, take a seat, pay attention. This is going to change the game for you. I think no matter where you're coming from, you're going to find that whether it's today or in versions to come, Apex is truly going to be a platform that's going to deliver to help you guys out. All right, so the first mindset that we need to figure out conceptually is that Apex is source-based programming. Well, what does that mean? Let's look at it in context to Integration Designer 9. Integration Designer 9 is controller-based programming, meaning you look at the controller page, you're looking at the buttons on that controller, and you're dragging and dropping everything under the sun onto those individual buttons. Whether it be a macro, a system command, variable, page link, whatever that is, you drag that all onto the buttons. This visual that we're going to go through start off, and you can actually reference this from your workbook. What we're going to do here is introduce this condo with these different rooms. I'm going to introduce you to the Apex workspace. And the whole point of this visual, this exercise, is to really start understanding how Apex utilizes a source-based mentality throughout the software. So what we're going to do here is not focus right now on controllers or processors, but showing you how the sources and rooms work together in the workspace. And then later on, we'll add controllers into it. And part of that is just to say, hey, we're not worried about the controls because this is source-based. And then throughout the course of this presentation, I think you'll start to slowly understand that it is truly source-based and is different than what you've been working with. I'm going to go ahead and add our rooms to the workspace. And then I'm going to add our sources to the living room and kitchen. You're going to see how that populates into the workspace. Underneath the living room, kitchen, there are no controllers. Under the sources, you have your home page, which is completely different because it's source-based programming. That's your activity page and the respective sources. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my zone audio, and you're going to see how Apex automatically does zone assignment, and we'll talk more about that later on, and puts those zones and gets the zone assignment done based upon how we have our rooms laid out. I'm going to go ahead and tuck that audio matrix into our wiring closet. Now, last but not least, I just added the music streamer into the workspace. You can see where it's located. It's in the global section of the workspace. I want you to remember that icon, and we're going to talk more about this music streamer later on. But I want you to see now that this music streamer, now that it's in the system and where it's positioned, means that this source, which happens to be a global macro, is now able to be shared by all room and devices. We'll continue to explore that. Real simple, this is what we're thinking about. You're no longer programming from the viewpoint of the controllers in the project. I want you focused in on the sources and how you're trying to control them. You're going to be more focused on overall source and system design. So if you look in the workbook, we're going to reference it later on. We have a line diagram in there. Part of us being a good partner is helping you understand how the programming platform works and picking up good behaviors for programming. Some of us have them, some of us don't. We weren't born, we didn't go to school to programming to be a programmer. A lot of us are folks that just kind of, pick up things and start working and then hope for the best and learn as we go. We recommend that you take your line diagram. I don't care if it's fancy, if it's simple. What we really want to do is, if you looked at the workspace there, and we'll continue to look at it more, if you can do a line diagram, it's going to improve and rapidly increase your process from paper to putting that into the Apex workspace. So that way your project now becomes that project from paper into the software. Next fundamental that we need to understand is Apex does use auto programming and templates. They work hand in hand. If you look here in this visual, you can see this is our Obsidian template. And as soon as you add that source into the system file with your controllers, that source now holds the actual controller page. We'll show you that there are no controller pages for these sources in the controller section of the workspace. They're all localized with the respective source. And in this instance here, you can see that it automatically creates a template with all the buttons and everything like that, but you still maintain complete customization and flexibility because it's Apex. It's not one or the other, it's all of it combined. You can edit, manipulate, change. You could take everything off of there, redesign the buttons. Whatever you want to do, you can do it, but it'll automatically create a pretty simple, intuitive interface design. You can bring over your pages and your frames, the GUI from Integration Designer 9 into Apex. You will not be able to bring over your commands. So if that makes sense, you can bring over your template design into Integration Designer Apex, but you will have to then build all of the commands, the macros yourself. Part of auto programming also means that wherever you see these little green check marks on your screen, that was already added as a macro, a source macro in this case if we're looking at the buttons here, right when we put that source into the Apex workspace. So just to show a little bit more, now I'm going to go ahead and give you those controllers because I know they're important. You can see that they've just been added into the respective rooms in the workspace on the left there. And when we added them in, you got all those handy dandy green check marks in your templates designed for you that all look very similar. And we're going to introduce tags. Tags, this little image pops up when you hover over a green check mark. And what it's doing is letting you know what's inside there. We'll talk more about tags. Tags can just be a tag, and a tag is what you drag onto the button or is already automatically there with automatic programming. That now is where we put all of our macros, our variables, page links, page, objects, etc. Everything now goes into the tag as opposed to just dragging and dropping onto a button individually. And the advantages that we'll talk about is that now whatever you put in that tag will automatically take place throughout all your controllers in your system file. If you make a change to something, you got the wrong variable and you need to make an adjustment, you make that change and it happens everywhere in your system file. Very powerful. All right, this is one of my favorites. I get it when especially you have a large scale system. I've seen it, I've been there, I've done that. I've watched colleagues do this. I call it the programmer squirrel brain, where you start on one spot in your system file and you have the best intentions to stay on task, but then all of a sudden you go, oh, squirrel, and you're off to the next thing looking at a different bitmap or changing a button around, and then you're in another room and you're doing different things, and granted you're programming, but you have to ask yourself, is it efficient? And what's really cool with the workspace and the fact that it's source-based design is, number one, you can collapse everything in the workspace and just get yourself focused in on a specific task. And we'll show you the tasks in that workflow. And in here you can see an example of it being source-based is that the source, Samsung Blu-ray, now you have a one-stop shop that shows you all those pages and frames for the source on all those controllers. How convenient is that going to be when you want to go through and make changes to the GUI?
All right, let's do a quick recap. Apex is a source-based programming platform. It is not controller-based programming. The difference is that you're focused in on the sources and what you would like to do with them. In controller-based programming, you're focused in on the controller view and dragging and dropping your various macros onto the buttons. Apex uses auto programming and templates to save you time. They're completely customizable and flexible, and you can bring in your existing Integration Designer 9 files over into Apex. You'll be able to take advantage of your templates, your bitmaps, and your overall layout and design, but you will not have access to all the macros, the commands. You will have to create them on your own manually inside the platform. Apex delivers simplified navigation, allowing you to efficiently program, all while giving you easy access to the controller pages based upon the sources themselves. Integration Designer Apex was built by our engineers to deliver a new programming platform that will allow our programmers to speed up programming without impacting customization and flexibility. Apex delivers a future platform that will allow programmers the ability to scale with new feature sets and tool sets to become more efficient, which will allow them to become more profitable. Apex takes advantage of both the closed and open platforms, giving you the best of both worlds: a faster learning curve, time-saving automation, complete customization, and the ability to separate yourself from the pack, all while giving you the ability to identify new business opportunities in both the residential and commercial markets. Stay tuned for our next module, where we'll explore Apex's recommended workflow. This workflow and the module will help you learn how to identify the best way to navigate, stay on task, so that you have more time to focus in on the end user experience, providing you efficient programming and the ability to become more profitable. We look forward to seeing you in our next module.